first episode of In the Mix with John Henry. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. John.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So the just for the folks that don't know, the bromance is way strong, and been going on for quite a while. And even in the early days, we saw the break of dawn, but that was a long time ago.
Wiser now, right?
Wiser now, yes. Not early 20s, but I've always been like drawn to you for some, I really, I know what it is just kind of cool, and like seeing what you're doing and things that you're putting out there and like basically betting on yourself. Now back then I wouldn't have been able to label it like that, but I think you've done like an amazing job of doing that. No matter how it happened, like when you're on the brink of something, it's amazing what breakthroughs on the other side. With that, I'd like to lead in and give everybody a little story about, where JH Specialty came from. Tell us about the conception.
Yeah. So, started in 1998. I found myself on the campus at Indiana University down in Bloomington. It came out of opportunity, necessity, and creativity.
The
right?
trifecta.
There you
right?
go. Yep. So the necessity part was I had to pay for a way to stay down there, right? And bussing tables and working in the restaurant didn't seem like the best way to do it. The opportunity was there was a large Greek community, fraternities and sororities. So they could be challenging to work with, right, from a target market. So someone who didn't have the same drive maybe would see them as not an ideal client. The buyer changes every 6 months, they're last minute, all these other things. And so with the creativity and kind of really starting into the whole journey down marketing and technology, every time they had a party, which I liked parties, they were getting T-shirts or some kind of party favor, right?
Sure.
So I found the opportunity to talk with some of them, figure out what their pain points were even back then. I could do some creative stuff. And then even back then, I found people who were more creative than me who could really do the designs and stuff like that. Meet the buyer where they wanted to. And from the opportunity perspective, even from the distribution perspective, I could get decorated shirts down in Bloomington before the local guy could get blank shirts. So
Gotta love that.
I mean, I could get an order, which would happen a lot last minute, 2:00, my screen printer up here in Fort Wayne, pick up the T-shirts in 2 hours, print them. They're on UPS. They're delivered the next day. So I had, not only from a creative work ethic, all that other stuff, but actually production had a competitive advantage in the space. So,
well, you didn't but it's not like you just like woke up and here's all this marketing knowledge and know-how and execution. I mean, maybe, what's even more of the backdrop that, before IU.
Right. Yeah. So my dad had a marketing company. From a timing perspective, it went under in 97. So learn from that though, right?
Sure.
Some things to do, some things not to do.
Right.
So I was able to pick his brain on some of that, and Promotional products was a part of what he did it more in the commercial space and a lot of trade show stuff. So I was able to have that tangible, the how-to on and just put it into a different perspective or a different market.
Yeah, so like that process piece of it though, and I'm sorry to like jump in there. I was like getting excited because I had like this thing that's kind of hit me though. But like, I feel like that process part of it, right? I mean, that's like, and you're sitting there watching it, and it's kind of an example of like taking it in through osmosis with some natural interest probably in it, and like in seeing how it works and the formulas and how the execution and how it can go down. How's that really kind of catapult you into taking advantage of the trifecta you mentioned earlier?
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, it's hard to think right now we're in 2021, right? But in 1998, not everybody even had an email address, right? So, I mean, the industry that I'm talking about right now is a lot of faxes, overnight stuff, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, my screen printer up here had to get an email address to be able to get the artwork that I would send to them.
AOL.com.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I still remember the all that. So, so that we're using the university. I had my first, email address. So at least I didn't have to pay for that. And then, leveraging that technology again, that the local screen printer is not going to have at that point in time and just really can't get their arms around it. So technology's always been, and innovation's always been part of it. So as I grew, and it was fun having a new buyer, fraternity, sorority, all that, and through school, and then went through the Kelley School of Business, focusing on marketing and computer information systems.
Still fulfilling orders.
Yes, fulfilling orders the entire time, and, I was able to broaden my customer base just by, like what you do, right? Referrals, word of mouth, going to products, I mean, I did put a website out there very early 2000, right? So when people were looking for things, I'd have them stumble across me. A lot of perception reality stuff, like I had an answering system, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in a very small bedroom,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Answering service, all those other things. One of the fun stories is, through a network of knowing people, and then, their dad may own a business. And so we have an opportunity out in California with a Fortune 500 company, and they start buying stuff from me, pens that Bill Gates is getting and all these fun stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So I go out there during a spring break, and I go to meet my buyer. And the buyer actually comes out into the waiting room, and she goes to the person behind the desk. She goes, "I thought John was here." And she goes, "He's right there." And she just looked at me, and her face just dropped, because kind of a deeper
Sure.
voice, everything like that. She's
right.
like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Well, 22." And she's like, "Oh, I've been buying all this stuff from a 22-year-old, just."
Yeah, but look at these lamb chops.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's right. Yeah. I can grow a beard, right? So yeah, those are the fun ones. And then just continuing to believe in that medium, right? I mean, you just had an event recently, Promotional Products does a great job of, extending an event, recognition from an employee perspective, getting out there in the market from a cold prospecting perspective. So continue to believe in it, but graduate with that computer information systems degree. And so how do I get more and more people to utilize technology? So graduated in 2001. I had all the consulting, offers, stuff like that I
4 years, mind you.
Right there.
Run,
that's right.
start your own business.
Yep.
Hey, it's either I stay or I go. So we're gonna make it go.
Right.
Right.
And when you're paying for it, that's motivator to get out of there too, right?
Done. Right. Like saving your own money.
Exactly.
I love it. Sorry. Proceed.
No, you're good. So come back with the consulting offers and come back to Fort Wayne and say, well, I'm going to give this thing a run, right?
Yeah.
And see what I can do. Again, found some talented friends that, 1099, all that stuff.
Right.
How do we go to market? How do we try to talk about a website and branding? And trying to sell a website in 01, you might as well have had two heads in Fort Wayne.
Hey, I got these pins though.
Yeah, I got exactly. So that's what it turned into, right? Let's start the relationship with pens. You're using this consumable product, right?
Exactly.
You'll come around to a website maybe by 2010, and hopefully we're still talking, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But then obviously, 9/11 happened in 2001 too.
Yeah.
So all those consulting jobs are gone, right?
Sure.
So my parachute's gone, and now it's now or never. With the support of family, I worked from home. Mom let me turn the dining room into an office. You know what I mean? So I tried to keep overhead as low as possible and just build those relationships, and through God's opened some great doors to some opportunities for us to find pain points in the market. And then I've hired a lot of talented people, way talented, more talented than I am, to help solve those problems. And that's how we've kind of gotten to where we are today.
That's awesome. I mean, I would say, from the outside looking in, obviously I've known you for a long time, and respect the hustle. But the way you say to those folks, it just be like, well, hey, that's a lucky guy right there. Right? Pretty lucky. Oh, look at Big Johnny doing his thing. Pretty, so what would you say to the folks that just want to take a quick snapshot at the lucky side of things?
Yeah, I mean, luck is part of it, right? But when that door opens or that opportunity, how do you take advantage of it, right?
Exactly.
And how do you execute against it,
Correct.
right? You can get as many at bats as you want from luck, but you got to get the bat on the ball to get it out of the park and to be able to do something that then gives you the referrals to do it again and again and again. Right?
Hey, I heard a fun definition of luck. It's when preparation meets opportunity.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's a fun vantage point because things just don't happen.
Right.
It doesn't materialize on its own. You're putting yourself in the chance to have the windfall that you're looking for, because you're getting up and you're getting the reps in every single day.
Right.
We're talking about hey, there's folks that are jet setting all the time, but there's no way that no matter where I'm at, okay, there's going to be a limited amount of time that I'm actually going to be able to disconnect because I'm thinking about the next thing. Hey, what could I be doing with this time? And I just think that's something that people really overlook.
Yeah, and it is, and it's doing it the right way, right? It is treating other people how you want to be treated, right? Internally and externally. So,
sure.
Yes, have I been in some positions where a customer said, "Well, here's my pain, and I'm not sure how I can solve it," and I'm thinking, I have a pretty good idea, but I'm going to sell this that I have a really good idea. You know what I mean? And then you bring it back to the group, and you come up with how you're going to do that. But then being very transparent on how you're going to get there. Having objectives that you try to bring emotion out of it as much as possible so you can define what success looks like. And then it's a repeatable process, right? It's finding a customer who has a pain point and how do you solve through that pain point,
and don't you think, a lot of people have had that same realization. They walk in, they see you grinding it out. That's you behind the desk making it happen, like, director of possibilities, if you will. So what would you say about, being able to, being willing to do whatever you ask anybody else to do?
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely, all the way out to taking the trash out, right?
Right.
If you got it, take the trash out. You have so much more respect from your peers that are on your team when you've walked a mile in their shoes, right? And
for sure,
you maybe haven't walked a mile, maybe you've walked a quarter of a mile because you didn't do that as much, but you have that empathy when you're having those conversations, and you allow them to come to their own realizations, but you can give some feedback. And again, you can't expect others to work harder than what you're going to work, right? As it relates to that, you got to be an example. We've done a great job of hiring self-motivated people, not people that I have to pat on the back every day, that they're going to do that themselves because they have an internal fire that being successful is part of that fire. It's not the only reason they get up every day, but it's a big part of what makes them who they are today. And then knowing, I've moved into more of a supportive role now, right? As opposed to, I like to lead by example, but more, how can I make somebody be the next leader as it relates to that?
Teach them how to fish kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they can get that aha. That's what gets me up every day, right? Is to land the next big sale or to see somebody on my team eyes grow, just get real big because of an aha moment, or we've done something to really knock the ball out of the park for an internal customer, external customer. And so just, when we look at it, and what I try to instill in my people is at the end of the day and the week when you're driving home, not only look back at what task did you mark off, right? That you have to mark off tasks because that's how you get the day done. But what was your positive influence, right? Either on a personal level with somebody, external level on what it was, because that's what we spend so much time at work and with our customers, right? Don't make it transactional. Make it, have fun. Make somebody laugh. You do a great job of that. You know what I mean? If we're going to do something, let's have some fun while we're doing it. You know what I mean? For sure. Yeah.
Like I saw something recently that is like just kind of having fun in the unknown.
Yeah.
Right. We try to, what's this call going to be like? It's like prejudging a client.
Yeah.
It's like we prejudge those calls.
Yeah.
Right. Versus just getting out of our own way and just, hey, let's run with this.
Yeah. And it's a person on the other line.
Is.
You know what I mean? No matter how much money they have, no matter what it is. And you can help them have a good day or a bad day, even with a solicitation call. You make them laugh. They may still hang up on you, but at least they laughed. You know what I mean? So,
but something when you're talking earlier, it's been on my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds is, how about that dance within delegation? Maybe speak to that a little bit.
Oh, it's one that I have a challenge and I work on every day, right? We have a team of over 40 people, and there's definitely some people who are saying, I want more, you know what I mean? And so it's letting go and getting them and giving them that confidence and giving them the ability to trip a couple times and make them feel like it's okay. You know what I mean? And, and doing those things. And it's something that it is tough, but that's why if you hire people who are smarter around you and then you don't utilize them. It's getting the race car and then never driving it past 60. You know what I mean? That's not what that race car was built to do. You know what I mean? So it is allowing them, if you want them to have that work-life balance, then they want to be challenged. I'm not hiring people who want to check in, check out. So don't give them check in, check out activities. You know what I mean? And so doing that, being objective, great books like 5-Minute Manager, things like that try to instill some of those principles. But I think personally, it's something that I have a challenge with all the time. And so I at least know that I have that, right? As opposed to I could take a half hour and get in the weeds and get this done. And it may take this person 4 hours to get it done. But at least like when you're talking about teach them how to fish, at least then they know how to do it. And the next time it's going to be more efficient. So unless I want to be in the weeds every day, then I got to not only, rely on my team. That's what they're there for, but help them grow.
I think you would agree. That was a conscious decision.
Yeah.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So like, what are some things like it didn't go the way you wanted it to in, coaching and delegating and team building?
Yeah. You mean that happens? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, it is like what you're saying, we're wired a lot alike. We're salespeople, right? So we want that instant gratification. So even when we get into the weeds and we get that instant gratification, if you do the Covey, the Q1, the Q2, Q3, Q4,
right?
We need to get it in that Q2 space so that we can really have those big thoughts that then you see it come out, right?
Sure.
I think some of those areas where I failed in the past is just like what you talked about in that call, right? As that you have this preconceived outcome that's going to happen on the call. Sometimes you have a preconceived outcome of, well, I'm going to delegate this. It's not going to come back how I want it. You know what I mean? So
I'm going to do it anyway.
Right. Yeah. I'm
going to just go.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to get rid of that head trash. Right. And then you got to have some of those conversations, again, making sure that the person on the other end knows that a good one that, definitely been used 1,000 times, but don't let perfect get in the way of good either. You know what I mean? Go as far as you can. And then let's have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation on, are we heading in the right direction?
It's a jumping off point, isn't it?
Exactly.
Any movement is a jumping off point. And then you can tap into this synergy, which is way bigger than any one person. Right. And just being thankful for that jumping off point, like, hey, just keep it moving. And I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's get the content flowing. Don't go through and fix all your grammatical errors. Get the piece done, then go back and do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And velocity, right? I mean, a lot of the times the reason why you're trying to delegate and do things is how can you move faster, right? How much can you get more wind behind the sails? Well, if you're continuing trying to get perfect, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying be sloppy, but if you're continuing trying to be perfect, then you're at a very slow pace, right? And that's not what's going on in the society that's around us right now. I mean, you're not only the normal things, but all the things outside of COVID and everything's post-COVID, right? That you're dealing with right now that you got to be quick. You got to be doing it. And then, making sure that you continue to refine once you've done some of those things.
Don't you you have to choke that pill down, right? Because I think this notion of perfection, is a fugazi. It's a mirage. Right. It's not real. You know what I mean? Because hit me we're perfectly imperfect.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And really, it is a mirage. I used to convince myself that I was, strive for absolute perfection. You know what I mean? And what I realized is that was just me afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Not putting myself in a vulnerable position to have it not go my way. I know it. I'm going to keep making decisions that are calculated to make sure I get the outcome I want.
Yeah.
But then that's when you peak out, right? That's when you level off and you hit this flat. Like, why am I on this plateau?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that's a great word, right? Being vulnerable and just being transparent, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you learn over 20 years how to be a better manager and how to do those things, and asking for forgiveness and asking for that when you're managing people, right? Saying, hey, I'm going to go into this. It's going to probably seem cold. That's just because I'm looking at this very analytical to do this. Hopefully you take it the right way because I'm trying to help you be better, not me being the smartest guy in the room. Right. You know what I mean? But I want you to learn and do these things. And if you see anything that I'm saying that doesn't make sense, timeout is okay here. You know what I mean? It's not just because I have the microphone that your opinion doesn't matter. Let's work on this together. That's why you're in the room.
Well, don't you think that sometimes we think that we don't have permission to ask permission?
Right. Yeah.
You have permission to ask permission.
Yeah.
And when you set these boundaries, do I have permission to be candid with you?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a way that you can sidestep those false walls in our mind,
right?
Of how a conversation is going to go, and you're ping-ponging off walls that aren't even there. It's scientifically impossible to play ping pong, but you're doing it,
right?
You know what I mean?
You're exhausting yourself on things that don't even exist.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
But it exists in your mind,
right? You took 20 practice swings before you hit the ball, and you wonder why you're tired.
Permission to ask permission to move on to the next question.
There we go. Let's do it.
How has being a husband and a father impacted you? Your development professionally?
Right. So. Again, we've known each other for a long time, right? And so when we first met each other, it was about how we're going to be successful. I mean, as you looked at what made us happy at the end of the day, we had there were percentage of things, but business and success was a big part of it.
Yeah, Taco Tuesday too.
Exactly. Yeah, don't forget that. Yeah, yeah, and how quick can you get out on Fridays?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, but yeah, and as you know, the whole reason, you know what I mean, as you get married and now you're doing it for someone else, and then how deep that goes when you have children, that now you have this. And so there's just a bigger drive, you know what I mean, as it relates to not only realizing that you can only dedicate so much time to work now because you want to be good at, let's face it, we don't want to be half-assed in any of the roles that we're in, right?
Absentee.
So exactly. Yeah. So you want to be, we work on our business, so then we should be working on a relationship with our spouse, right? Yeah. And we should be always working to be the best father that we can for our kids, right? So now, we started out when we first knew each other single, and, didn't matter if we were working 60, 70 hours a week. It was just us, right? And then we were going to go have fun, hurt ourselves, and, do it again the next weekend. Yeah. So now there was just a different reason, right? So now it is the importance of delegation, right? Yes. So that you don't bring it home. Or not every day, you can't say that, but how do you at least plan not to take it home? And then also an empathy for the people that you work with who have family and doing stuff like
Sure.
that it's not we do not have a very black and white, be here by 8 o'clock, leave at 5 o'clock absolutes, right? We understand kid's going to get sick.
Yeah.
We understand this is going to happen. You don't have to take 2 hours off, put in a request for 2 hours for the doctor appointment. Just make it up.
So you would say,
Just
I mean,
do
like,
it as it relates to that.
yeah,
You know
well,
what
your
I mean?
family, friends, like and your kids and all that. I mean, what I'm hearing there is just like your EQ, your emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
just really leapfrogged and skyrocketed.
Exactly. Yeah, and you get to use all these same principles, but realizing that you got to put the same work in those other areas, and you only have so much, emotional capacity, intellectual capacity, time capacity, right? So how do you balance that? And again, something that I continue to work on, day after day, year after year, as it relates to that.
Don't you think you have to believe, like I feel like you have a very firm baseline belief that you can handle it all.
Oh yeah. And again, faith helps all that too, right? Because
Sure.
you know that when you can't, then you get to give it off and you get to pray and say, hey, I need your help on this. And I can honestly say that I can't think of a time that I've ever said, hey, I can't handle this.
Right.
I need your help. Didn't always get the outcome I thought I was going to get as it relates to that, but something happened, right?
Well, that's it,
a
'cause
door
like,
opened
yeah,
or something
right.
like that happened that gave me the capacity to be able to do that and the support of those around you to be able to do that.
I saw like an Evan Almighty. It makes me think of this. There's this part where his wife, he's building this ark, and she goes to stay with her parents, right?
Yeah.
And she runs into God, aka Morgan
Yeah,
Freeman,
yeah.
right? She's like, I just been praying for patience, and he's like, do you think God would give you the patience or the opportunity to be patient? And that really just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, and it's like, oh, instead of letting something in that atmosphere, like, oh, I have an opportunity to be patient here, right? And I think that I've struggled with that growing like up in a very militant type, Bobby Knight,
Right.
school of hard knocks,
Yeah.
household, that like not want to honor that, and give value to that and try to recreate it versus really focusing on the evolution of parenting. And it's not, this totalitarian type thing anymore.
Right, yeah.
Right. And you're not like discounting your childhood by not completely being that way. You know what I
Right.
mean? I felt like I was like, like there was some kind of martyr bonus I was going to get for like trying to reinvent the same wheel my old man did,
Right,
and like,
yeah.
and I hear you talking and it's like something that really stood out is like, working as hard at home as you do at work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what it is. And it's, we talk a lot about equal business stature, whether that's with a vendor, or a customer or whatever. Let's be on the same page, right? A vendor to us is not someone that's a subordinate to us. We need them to be able to make results at the end of the day. So it's the same stature at home, right? As it relates to that, in doing those things. Also, I've been blessed that I wanted to get to a certain point, whether that was financially and all these other things. And it just continues to raise that bar with family and, what can you do and how you can do things. I can look back on my childhood and it wasn't, again, I had to pay for college, all these
Sure.
other things. I can't say that I was ever unhappy as a kid. I didn't know what I was missing, all those other things. And it's another challenge to make sure that you don't overindulge, right? That you're not, I have a freshman that's in college right now and I paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yay!
But I want her to have that same thought process when she's going to school
Yes.
because when I paid off that last student loan debt, I mean, that was something that, I earned it. I felt great about. So how do I get to do both? Yeah. And again, God works in mysterious ways. I thought I was going to get married, go traveling, do all these things, have the 2, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever. And even when we first got married, it took a while for us to have kids. And now, we look at each other crooked. And I have 7 kids for people who don't know. So when you talk about
like 20.
Yeah. When you talk about that, you got to raise that financial part of it too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The more that you bring in, and I think that that's part of it that I've prayed that God bless me with the children and the way to be able to support them, that as I get these additional milestones of growth, that another baby comes, So
Well, dude, you
as it
gotta
relates
love
to
that.
it.
Like you said,
Yeah.
you bring the love at home, but you got to have the love at work,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
I mean, that has to be reciprocated too. Like, you can't, force your way through your day. I think when loyalty trumps truth, corruption is near.
Right.
So it's not corruption like you're working for the mob, but like you're not being true to yourself and your family, when you're not, enjoying what you're doing every day.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes from, that's a culture, right? At home, that should be a culture at work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell the way you interact with the guys and gals here that, yes, I have my immediate family. I have my, my parents, my siblings, my cousins.
Yep.
But at work, it's the JH family.
It is.
I treat them the same way. You know what I mean?
Kind of bottom line, this, topic about, business and, family and how that impacts business. I mean, I think, no, I'm not even gonna say I think, but I think there is a notion that there is this fine line, right? This Mason-Dixon line between business and family. And I would beg to differ.
Right.
I think we make things harder on ourselves when we try to do that distinction. I just don't see it. I'm not, it changed my mind.
Right. No, I think 100%. I mean, it's how you treat people, and it's picking the right spouse too. You know what I mean? That they understand being married to an entrepreneur can be challenging, right?
Sure.
Sometimes there's going to be great days. There's going to be some things that happen, and there's going to be other times that you're going to need a little bit of room, and you're going to need that same humility to just say, I kind of had a bad day. You know what I mean? I need a little bit of space, or I need to lean on you a little bit. You know what I mean? And not thinking that because we're the CEO at the office doesn't mean we have to be the CEO at home. You know what I mean? When it relates to some of those things.
Well, that's that vulnerability though, right?
Yeah.
And willing to surrender. That was something that, has been really recent, for me, like on the scale that it is now, and a lot of that has to do with being, happy with where things are going and what I'm doing and what I'm spending my time on. And it just really kind of nudged me. I think 2020 nudged a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity to find out what's up, right?
Yeah.
Like how hard can you get hit and keep moving forward?
Exactly.
And you never know what people are keeping close to their vest.
Right.
I mean, there's certainly things I was keeping close to my vest. It's great to hear, like, you seeing that seamless transition between, business and family, being happy and really doing what you want.
Yeah. Because, like you said, at the end of the day, we spend so much time at work away from our family. So let's at least enjoy what we're doing, and let's try to do our best to make sure those around us are enjoying what they're doing too, right? Again,
it radiates.
It radiates. Yeah. That's that positive momentum, right? That we have the ability to influence, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
That's it, right?
Your sphere of influence.
Hey, all right, I'm like Walter Cronkite here with my questions. Time to get down to the nitty gritty.
All right.
What complex problems present themselves in 2020, and how have you and how are you overcoming them?
Yeah, so, we talk about the company, right? So definitely one of the challenges or opportunities, depending on how you look at it, is we go to market in a few different ways, right? So pretty diverse. Some people could even say identity crisis as it relates to that. But 50% of our top line revenue was promotional products,
Sure.
something that the business started with. And a big part of that industry went down 80% when they started shutting down things.
Well, sure, right?
I mean, as opposed to us typically having hundreds of orders coming in, we're getting those hundreds of orders and thousands of orders canceled and nothing coming in the pipeline, right? So a real reality of looking at, what's cash flow look like. I've always believed to make sure that you got, plenty in the cookie jar to see what, when a rainy day comes.
Reserves, baby.
Exactly. Typically you think you're going to have a little bit more control or a little bit more visibility on when that's coming, right? Which we didn't. So we play a lot in that event space. Even country music, you go to a country music concert, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, there's something there that you buy from us. Well, when's the last time somebody's gone to a country music concert? It was making a conscious effort that we were going to invest in the team to be ready now as we're coming out of it. We knew that our industry is going to see downsizing in that particular space. We wanted to make sure that we were ready when it comes back, that we're more aggressive calling on accounts that we haven't, because the people who are calling on those accounts may be gone. So we'll see what the fruits of those labors look like, but we're seeing some early indicators. Now you flip the script, and on the digital marketing side and solving solutions as it relates to technology, people are buying things differently, right?
Yes.
We just launched in March of last year, finished launching 650 websites within the Do It Best co-op that represented 1,400 retailers across the country selling hardware stuff. So imagine a mom and pop hardware store, which means different things to different people.
Sure.
We have one that not necessarily mom and pop, has 39 locations. You know what I mean? That's a big chain.
It's an operation.
We're here locally, 5 locations with Conley's, which was always open. It was something that always had to do, and super busy. People needed that stuff. They're at home more now. They're doing that. So we have a brand new customer across the base, and it's not just one customer, 650 of them, right?
Wow.
That how do we help them meet the needs of not
maximize
only
it, right?
Maximize it. Yeah. Be there. Help those people that are doing the do-it-yourself stuff compete against the 800-pound gorilla. You know what I mean? The Lowe's, the Home Depots, that type of stuff. And then just all the business relationships that we had and have, that they were like, how do we get in front of these people more digitally? So, we hired 12 people last year. So we took our team to low 30s to mid 40s last year. And still in that digital space, Fort Wayne's great. It's growing, but there's not a plethora of them, right? So you're bringing in people who have the aptitude and attitude, and there's a lot of training. So how are you training people to get them to the market as quick as possible so you can help meet the needs of the organization, and generate revenue?
Oh, yeah, and here's our culture too, by the way.
Exactly. Exactly. Do all that. And try to do that with maintaining a flex schedule that, because we were supporting those necessary businesses, those hardware stores, we had the variance from the governor that we could have people come into the office, but still maintaining a safe space, right? So some people we didn't see after March 31st, we didn't see all through 2020, and we haven't even seen them this year. They've been working from home, right? So others felt more comfortable coming in. So maintaining, keeping if you're going to call your business culture you're an extension of your family, you want to keep your family safe, right? So what does it mean with masking? What does it mean with sanitizer? What does it mean with all that? And not knowing. This isn't something there was not a class for this, right?
No, 1918 was a long time ago.
Exactly. Yeah, there's not a class. This is how you deal with a pandemic when it hits, right? So very fortunate that through the pandemic, we actually grew year over year revenue a little bit.
That's amazing. But still, right? You get
very
wins,
blessed,
right?
Yeah, that's the win, right? But the difference too is a transaction. So I can help you with, your mini basketballs and those things.
Foam fingers,
all that stuff. And it takes about a half hour to an hour to process that order by the time we got the art approved, everything like that. So that could be $1,000 order. And I can process a $10,000 order about the same amount of time, maybe even a $100,000 order, right?
Wow.
But a $100,000 digital project, I need people and time, and I need efficiency, and I need all that other stuff. So how do you take this influx of business, price it right, have the right people in the right spots? You've made promises to people, and those people who you've made promises to that you sold things to are stressed, right? They're dealing with the same stresses. So being very empathetic on that and being realistic on what you can do. It was definitely, I'll never forget that day when watching the governor shut things down and even seeing the president do it, knowing, okay, now what's the new normal? And then just every day a grind. And, I apologized to my team that I led scared for the first time ever. You know what I mean? That usually usually super optimistic, right? That that door will close, another one will open, but not knowing what that was. And luckily, again, I had a team around me that said, I'm going to pick up the ball, I'm going to run, and found some really great opportunities so that when I could take my head out of the sand and realize, hey, this is all going to be okay. Those people gave me the same empathy that I've given them, that they saw that I was doing my best, right?
Pendulum swings both ways, baby. You see, that's a great example of fortitude, really, in mutual respect,
Yeah. Yeah, because that they probably didn't get the support that they needed either, but it wasn't that they took that as something as a chip on their shoulder. They just take
no victims.
We had the opportunity to talk, again, transparent about it, that it was stressful for all of us. Now, what are we going to do today forward, right? And we're even taking this opportunity now to bounce off of that foundation that we have. And, we're even brought in recently even an outside coach, who's going to help us with some strategic thinking and all those things to, again, as you mentioned, the pendulum, right? So going from scared to let's go, right? So let's do it and realize let's control what we can control.
There's credence to equal and opposite reactions, and that's the thing. It's tough for people to have that wherewithal. Just to know that, hey, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
There's been some dark times, but that means if you're paying attention, you're going to notice the equal and opposite brighter times.
Right.
And you're going to latch onto those, and you didn't give up.
Yeah.
You kept things going. Things got complex.
Yeah.
I can't imagine communication got less complex.
No.
It's really just an evolution, So how do you think you've taken that evolution and wove it into 2021?
Yeah. So I think, some of it is that you brought up military previously. We went to war, right? And so there were some people that they came to work every day and there was just nothing for them to sell. You know what I mean? And so that, again, from their mentality, they're like, I'm trying, you know what I mean? But then it was knowing that I know you're trying, right? I believe in you. So when this comes, I need I need you to go. And that's what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing more opportunities. And so people are getting out of their comfort zone and they're making more of those calls. They're doing more of those things because they want to be better. And so that's what we're trying to do is the business, specifically to answer your question, the business over the past 20 some years has been built on people's shoulders, having the right people on the team and people who just would run through that wall for me or our customers, right? That's only going to go, I think we've reached our plateau on what we're going to be able to do on that, right? Yeah. So now we're talking about what does that 5-year vision look like, and then underneath that, what's our mission, and then under that, how are we going to be very tactical? And being tactical, what are our 13-week plan that's going to get us to that next step so that we can hit that number? And and we're talking about sales is just one part of the metrics that we're looking at, but let's stretch, right? If we're going to be significant, a word that we say a lot, like, what does significance mean? That means getting uncomfortable, being very transparent, and then making sure that everybody is rowing in the same direction and making some tough decisions along the way.
So, it's fair to say, it sounds like there's been some very intentional evolution.
Yeah.
From one year to the next.
Yes, exactly. And embracing that uncomfortableness and all those things, those emotional things that happened last year because of the uncertainty, the banding together because it was outside of our control.
Sure.
As negative as that was, I don't think there's any way you could influx that on your company, right? There's no way that you could get the results after the fact out of that you saw the people who they were coming in and they were like, what do we got to figure out to keep these doors open? What do we got to figure out to make sure that this promise that we said for this customer is going to get done? We saw the human side of people and we band together. Band of brothers, band of sisters. We're ready to rock and roll. And we understand now with the right pieces, those visions, those missions and tactics that, I think people are super excited to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to just, hey, we're making the world a better place. I'm comfortable with what I'm making. I'm kind of good with all this. I know you want me to kind of stretch. Now they're like, we're stretching. Let's go.
It's nice. It's really refreshing to hear like an integrous approach because there's a lot of people out there doing the opposite. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And just kind of, playing off of what's going on, and just, being very, having a scarcity mentality.
Yeah. Well, and it's changed the marketplace. You know what I mean?
Sure.
All the way to, again, you talk about the hardware space, they had a big influx because people had to go there, right? Well, how do you maintain that, right? Well, how do you start playing like the big boys and get them uncomfortable, right? So we're having a lot of uncomfortable as you're hearing it a lot. We're trying to get our customers uncomfortable. We're trying to get us uncomfortable for the right reasons to help them grow, help them do those things because we know just doing the same thing, it's insanity, right? Doing the same thing every day and expecting different results.
Feeling the same way, looking the same way, having the same scowl or whatever, autopilot responses. Yeah. Timely segue into, a next question for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Nope.
And so how has being an entrepreneur shaped your understanding of adversity?
Most entrepreneurs and opportunities come out of adversity, right? So if there wasn't a problem, then you're not delivering a solution, right, as it relates to that. So it is, I think, a mindset that that perfect doesn't exist, like you talked about, right? It was something that I used to go for, like, whenever an issue would happen or an order we'd miss a deadline.
Drive yourself batty.
Yeah, just like, how did this happen, blah, blah. Now it's just how do you increase your batting average, do all those different things. One of the reasons why I'm here too is that I have good peers that I can drop things off of. You're included, that we can talk about some stuff and
Likewise.
do things. One of my peers that has a great quote that he says, first reaction's no reaction, right? So it's not the emotional reaction that what it is. The first action is, okay, no reaction. Think about this, right? Let's think about objectively all these things without emotion, without everything. Yeah. Try to stay as hard. You got to tell yourself though, right? It's easy to say.
Opportunity to work on myself. Right. Opportunity to work on myself.
It's taking that and then finding out, is that adversity something that you can overcome with the people that you have on your team, and is it a right decision for you to do? But it's relying on people. Realizing God's given you strengths and talents and utilizing those to the best of your ability, but all those around you. And then also understanding when you run into some adversity that maybe somebody's telling you something, right? That maybe this isn't a place you should be.
That kind of brings that surrender mentality though, right? Like trying to stay centered and trying to go with the flow and not trying to force, a square peg into a round hole.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to win everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some adversity is the school of hard knocks. You know what I mean? Again, I don't have an MBA, but I'm pretty sure I've paid for one. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Oh, maybe even a doctorate. You know what I mean? On decisions that made the wrong decision. But then again, you don't have a time machine to go back and fix it. So I'm not going to dwell on it. It is what it is. Learn from it. Hopefully maybe tell somebody else about it so that they don't have to do it. And then how do you make yourself better?
So how would you say, if you had to articulate it from a grace standpoint, how did you evolve within having grace with yourself?
Yep. Grace, man, that's a tough word. You know what I mean? So it is making sure to understand when to be quiet, to understand.
Even out loud or inside your mind too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Just when to take it all in, when to understand what you can control and what you can't control. Again, not thinking that you had to be the brightest person in the room, not having to be, not have to win everything.
Yeah.
No, there's egos checked at the door. What's going to be the best outcome for the most people involved? All those other things.
Right.
If you're not going to get to 100%, is there an 80% that's going to at least scratch an itch or do something like that to get to the 100% as
Sure.
it relates to that stuff? But yeah, grace is a tough way to put it, right? I mean, that's a high standard of trying to, and something that probably work on a daily basis to try to get to that point.
There's always the mystery question.
Yeah, so, here we go.
Harry, I'm going to hit you with it.
All right.
Okay. What wakes Johnny Five up without an alarm?
What wakes me up without an alarm?
Johnny Five, by the way, why he's pondering that's 20 years in the making. It's a short circuit reference because he's super smart. He's got the answers and he just keeps on going just like a robot.
Right.
So again,
there's probably some people don't even know there's a movie like that.
Yeah, there
right?
is short circuit. It's pretty
awesome.
awesome, and it's our thing. So
right, yeah.
Judge me.
So exercise is one of those things that I want to get up and do first thing in the morning.
What does it like? I'm talking like say the alarm is set.
Yep.
Okay, it's set for 5 and it's 4:55. What woke you up?
I mean, there's definitely no way that I can say that I don't have business on my mind, right? So
Right.
there's something that I tried to leave at the office that came home with me, right?
Sure.
As it relates to that. So yeah, it's those things of, and let's circle all the way back at the beginning. Something I probably didn't delegate and should have. When am I going to get that in? When am I going to fit that in? How am I going to get to those things? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely what stress did I put on myself today probably influences if I hit the alarm or if I beat the alarm.
It's that fire though. You wouldn't change it. You wouldn't really have it any other way. I mean, I think it's great that someone's driven enough and there's things that are bigger than themselves that wake them up.
Right.
That get things going. And that's where, that's hitting pay dirt.
Right. When
you have that mindset, like, okay, here's some reps I got to get in. I better get up. I can sleep later.
Right.
Oh, man, hey, great time together, man. I think there's some cool things, some one-liners, from John Henry, watch out for that head trash, velocity, time to task, permission to ask permission.
That's a good one.
I think that you kind of come out and you're like, I'm saying this to you because I value you, and I really putting your thoughts and your feelings, your emotions at the forefront of this message because, that's more important than the message.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I really liked was that equal business stature, right? Being intentional with that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. This is it. John Henry, JH Specialty. Check him out. He's easily found. He's meant to be found. And that's it. Thanks for joining us for In the Mix.
Thanks, Greg.